Hello and welcome to Third Thursday. This is our January meeting, and we've got Lee White and Jake Parker, and I'm Will Terry. And we usually go over the rules, so I'm just gonna hit those real quick. And in fact, we're actually changing the rules this month, right? Because we've got some good feedback from people in the forums. A
Hmm.
lot of really good feedback, by the way, and we really appreciate that because this is your. We like to think of this as your competition, and we listen, right? And we want to improve. So we have decided to go with one winner, a innumerable amount of honorable mentions. So that could be as little as two, I guess, and as many as infinity. Is that right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then each of us are going to pick two illustrations to critique. And the difference where we're going to go with this, I think, is we're going to pick images that we think will help the most amount of people. So, in other words, if we see the same kind of problem repeating over and over again, we might choose to pick one to critique for those criteria, or we might
Hmm.
choose to pick one to critique because it's such an awesome piece that we just want everyone to see it, and but also see some things that we would change. So, the reasons for picking a piece to critique are going to be very different often than picking a winner. And so they're two different things. Is that right, Lee?
That's correct.
Did
Yeah,
I get
and
that
that
right?
that way it leaves us open to critiquing all kinds of different work without it being regulated to just the ones that were in that little grouping.
That's
So
right.
it's kind of it gives us a little more freedom to pick different images.
That's right. Okay. So, why do we do this?
I think you want me to take that one? I take it every time, don't
Yeah,
I?
you took it last time. Let Lee take it. Why do we do this, Lee?
Okay.
We do this to give you guys something to a hard deadline. Without having a deadline, it's so easy to get lost in half-finished sketches and color tests and things like that. As a matter of fact, I see that a lot from students who graduate from the school that I was teaching at the university. Is they're doing great, all these assignments, they graduate, and then all I see is little sketches and studies for like the next year. Without a hard deadline, it's hard to finish things.
Yeah.
Um, and we give you criteria. If you're just sketching on your own, you can change a character, you can change it from a penguin to a dog, it doesn't matter. You can change the setting from day to night, it doesn't matter. But when there's criteria, you have to hit the criteria, and that's the hard part of illustration. It's easy to, everybody learns to draw well after a certain amount of time,
Hmm.
but being able to hit a concept and have meaning is hard.
Hmm.
And so sometimes what will happen is you'll see the image that we pick, and it might not be that appealing to you art-wise, but we're looking for the total package. We're looking for the one, like you said, Lee, that hits all the criteria, that hits the story. Does it satisfy the assignment, and does it satisfy the um, the form and function, I guess, right?
Hmm.
So,
And I think it's important to note too that this is going to continue to evolve, and as we get more feedback, and as um, our community changes and grows, this thing will change and grow to address the needs.
yeah,
So it's fluid.
yep,
So don't get too comfortable.
yep. The other thing I might add is we understand how much you guys put into this. We're in the forums, we're looking around, we're seeing, and it's just so exciting to see all the activity in there. And you might have worked for hours and hours and hours and never get mentioned in this video tonight. Um,
Hmm.
and that's harsh. It's We've all been there, and we've all shed tears over our art. In fact, I had a girl who kind of started to lose it a little bit this week in my class at UVU. And my message to her and to anybody who is frustrated about that is that just reinforces how passionate you are about your art, and that's a good thing.
Hmm.
And I think I've expressed my emotions in anger. My wife can attest to that over the years. When the idea of what you're trying to make is so much better than what your capability is. It's painful. And then to
Yeah.
have us not mention you at all is even more painful, and we understand that. And that's where what I'm trying to say there is, you know, um, it is what it is, and hopefully we're all here to learn from each other. It might not
Mhm.
be that specific to your piece, but you know,
Like Will's saying, I mean, this is just one opportunity to get feedback, but the forums is a constant opportunity to get feedback, and not just from us, but from everybody. And you guys are really great about posting. But for those of you guys who are just listening and or submitted something for the first time, definitely feel free to post your image. Don't be scared or nervous that it's going to get ripped apart. It won't be. It's a real it's an encouraging and very supportive group that's evolved, and it's nice to see.
yep.
Yep. Very cool.
Also, the other reason we do this is it definitely drives traffic to SPS, and we can't do that. We can't do that without having everything kind of work out. So that's part of it as well. Um, Jake, do you have or Lee, you have the February prompt, right?
I do.
Do you want to do that now or at the end?
I'll do it now if you want.
Okay, let's do it now. Is that good,
Yeah,
Jake? Okay,
I'm cool with that.
okay,
All right, you want to switch to my screen?
yeah.
Is that my job?
I think I need to, yeah, so he can do it.
Okay, cool.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, looks good. I love that
Okay.
image, by the way. So
Thanks.
nice.
It's great.
So the prompt for next month in honor of Valentine's Day is I'm going to leave it open to a keyword, and the keyword is love. Just
Straight
however
up.
you're going to interpret that. Now, what I was talking to Will and Jake earlier about is we're on the risk of getting really sappy images. That's only one kind of love, but there's unrequited love. There's just so many different things that go with it. And so I want you guys to build on the idea of what it means to you or what it means to some characters that you might be working on, and try to come up with something that's interesting and that's unique, a different spin on it. Don't just draw two people kissing each other or something. Really concept it up. And I'm curious to see where it goes, because a lot of times we've gotten really specific with the prompts, and I like kind of mixing it up and going real loose this time. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys do.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Very good.
All right.
Okay.
And is that image, how much of it's traditional and how much of it's digital?
It's
Just
100% digital.
That's awesome.
It looks
That's fun.
so
I'm
traditional.
doing a book right now that I just finished yesterday. I still got some revisions and stuff to do, but I'm doing a book where I started doing the first like 4 pages are 100% traditional, and then the next 4 pages are like half digital and half traditional, and then by like page 12 it's all digital, and it all looks the same. Like, the publisher doesn't know. But once I got used to what marks were happening in the first 4 pieces, I just scanned those marks and then I made brushes out of them and held that consistency, and that's what
That's
I'm
cool.
kind of doing here.
Hey, someone, Misty just said, should we switch it to one winner instead of three winners? The top there.
We did. It's only one winner, right?
Yeah, but on the image it says three winners.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we should. Thank
Yeah.
you. It hasn't been posted yet, so I will change that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Typo.
catching that, Misty.
We don't pay attention to the type.
Oh, good.
Okay, so we're ready for you, Jake. You want to
All
lead
right.
us off
So,
here?
did you want me to go through honorable mentions first, and then we'll do critiques?
Yeah.
Let's do the honorable mentions. Yeah.
Okay. Let me pull up that folder.
While you're doing that, I got a couple questions. The question was illustration or book cover. The answer for next month's prompt is whatever you want. If you're a concept designer, try to lean it that way. If you're a book illustrator, try to lean it that way. If you're an editorial illustrator, just make something that you like, and think of a genre that it's going to go in and a client that it might work for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like with yours, Lee. It's interesting how the three of us work and our prompts, how different they are. Yours always um, leave it very open for uh, just for anything. I mean, it's super customizable, so I like that.
Yeah.
All right, you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the honorable mentions. And again, for these, I was looking at um, first and foremost the concept, like how well does it, uh, um, you know, assess the concept of showing someone startled or by the horrendous noise, and then how well that concept executed on an artistic level. So it's those two things. But I love this one. The guy busts into the garage and there's a possum band like, rocking out.
It's a really fun idea.
And you see the spatula guitar, like it's good. It's good. So that's that one. Let me go to the next one. That was Damien. This is Dan Tavis, and I love the idea of bunny, a horde of bunnies attacking a bear. I thought that was fun. This one, I just really like this perspective. Where I don't think I ever would have approached it like this, and seeing this made me realize, okay, there's more than, there's really interesting ways to do this. Just going straight from the squirrel's view up. I thought that was cool. I definitely would have done something not as fun and exciting. This one, just really cool dragon design there, him peeking down. And I love this low angle camera shot. And then obviously, like, what is that horrendous noise? Oh, it's three dragons terrorizing the neighborhood. This one was interesting. The lighting.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool. I just thought it was, when I first glanced at it, I saw a small thumbnail. I actually thought it was some sort of 3D rendering. But blowing it up, I could see the paint strokes and everything, and so I thought that was cool. This one right here, I'm a sucker for line art, so that's just is my like default appreciation. Like I appreciate line art, so I saw this one. I thought it was a cool dragon design, and this child getting trying to see what this dragon was all about.
Looks like a great book cover.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one, I was really impressed with the rendering. How this is like some solid fantasy illustration. I could totally see this in a D&D monster manual or something.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and the architecture.
I saw that one in the forums and gave a few suggestions on that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could critique all these because there's so many good things happening and there's also some good lessons that we can all learn.
Yeah. This one, boy, it stopped me in my tracks. Despite the grody subject matter, I really love the composition.
Look at the chat right now.
It's good. I mean, in images that get a reaction like that should be paid attention to. I mean, it works.
And coupled with the words, the horrendous noise, I'm just like, yeah, I couldn't not spotlight this. It was good. So, but all that, subject matter aside, I really like this perspective of these guys foreground and darker, heavier shadow, and then thinner, more delicate line work, and then this thing that's farther away is reflected that way. So there we go. This one, I really like the rendering on it as well. And this is I noticed in all the entries, there's a lot of monsters and a lot of dogs, and so I think that's that's this one on the monster side of things is really well executed with that massive fuzzy monster coming towards him. This one creeped me out a little bit. Like the story that it tells, this lighthouse, this guy who runs a lighthouse, and he hears something, so he goes to check it out, and there's this sea monster rising up, coming to attack him. Thought that was neat.
Nice one.
Yeah, really like this one. I love the perspective, the colors, the design.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
It's just fun, really fun. This one too, really good storytelling. There's so many, and this, you want to set yourself apart on these. This is the kind of thing you want to do is who's Stanley? All we have is a name, and you can go anywhere with that. Well, Stanley, now we know, is this inventor. He's an older man. He builds robots, and then there's these two kids somehow affiliated with him, and they're always getting into trouble doing stuff. So I thought that was really cool. Like, this is a whole world right here.
Right.
Here we have one on the dog side of things. Yeah, this one just, I don't know what it was that really caught me. I think it was just the rendering. I really like these colors, and this approach to design, which is just really interesting.
Great looking moon. I love that moon.
Moon's cool.
Awesome.
The tower's really wonky, like kind of it's Seussian almost. And then this one, Will and I were having a conversation about this one earlier, and how just how spot on the color is and the lighting.
Very professional in so many ways. Yeah.
Really cool.
And Nat's been in the forums a lot, helping other people, and I really appreciate that. And I also saw this in there and was just like, wow, it's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's gorgeous.
This one, again, really good storytelling happening here. Some dude coming out of his apartment to find a baby, just making some horrendous noise. I thought that was fun. This one, man, the rendering was just really, really nicely done, with the lighting hitting the side of the wall there, and the scope of it, I guess, is what it is. Like, you've got this mouse who lives in some ancient temple that's been destroyed. I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. And it's interesting subject matter too. Like, I would never have thought to go there. So, okay. This one, again, I really like the storytelling happening here. Again, these words, they don't give us anything. You could go any direction. And here we have, like, oh, they're having their first baby, and they're just coming home. It's springtime. I thought it was really cool. This one, I like the color choice, that striking blue against the orange of the character. It was really fun. And then I really like this one as well.
Yeah, that's really fun.
I'm also a sucker for robots too, so.
Uh-oh. That's an invitation to do a lot of robots.
Yeah, if you do robots with line art, you're going to get on my good side. All right, should I do my my first critique?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're jumping in.
So it's this one. All right, so concept on the concept level, And this is Thrace. Is he here tonight?
Um, I yes, yep,
Yes.
yep.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that name. It could be Thracy or Thrace. Anyways, if that person wants to be unmuted, they can do that.
I'm
But
gonna go ahead and unmute you, Thrace. And I don't think there's a mic hooked up.
okay. Well, you can show up in chat if there's any questions or anything. All right. So concept, I love the setting. It's an Eskimo at night. He's living out, in the middle of the snow. I assume it's a cold winter. Here's this horrendous noise, this crash, and it's this whale submarine breaking through the ice. And I think that's just so cool on so many levels. Composition-wise, I think if you shrink it down, um, it works really well because you've got this bigger shape in the foreground. It's where the emphasis is. You've got this character running in the background, but I think um, I think there's some issues in that. Let me just pull this up. We've got some tension happening here, and we've got this momentum like shooting us up into this corner. Um, it's just like this forcing us this way, and this sort of gets lost over here. So there's some like, for me, there's just some um, awkwardness or some off balanceness about this. And I think what I would want to do, I think too, though this is kind of dramatic, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't, I think there's a better way to like really force this drama. And what I want to do is just suggest maybe an approach, something like this. So you have, I love the idea of the silhouette of this thing breaking through the ice. And, ice just coming through, and you've got, his mechanical things. But I want to say maybe you have Igloo in the foreground, and you have the Inuit character with his dog, like coming out like this to see it. So now we've got, maybe even these guys could be a little bit bigger, something like that. And then you can add some mountains back here, and then your stars and stuff. But I think something like this might come across a little bit more dramatic, where we've got these guys, because really it's about the thing that Stanley is. It's less about I think his reaction, and more about like discovering what this thing is that's causing all this noise. So so once you come this way, we become Stanley, because we're in his court, we're behind him. It's almost like if you think about video games, and if they really want you to feel like you're that character, they put it in that third person perspective, where we either are them and seeing what they're seeing, or we're right behind them. And so I think if you do this, when we're looking past him and we're seeing this, and also emphasizing how big this is compared to him, if it's that far away and it's that large, then this really is something like dramatic and something to be worried about. So there's that compositionally, and then I think.
Can I bust in for a second?
Yeah, please.
I just wanted you to know I saw the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because of where that chip is coming from, the corner.
Yeah.
You have a hard time kind of figuring out exactly what's going on there, and
Right.
you've got to be really careful and literal for your audience, so that they can understand what's happening really quick. Even though it's a beautiful design,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as legible. So I'm just
Yeah.
reinforcing.
I agree. I had a tough time making out that lower right portion. I had to look at it for a couple seconds.
Yeah. I think too you've got another problem here where this framing just is there's this tension here where it's you kind of he's breaking through this surface, but then he's sort of trapped by this line. So if you had a hill going behind like that, that way he's breaking through two different planes. One is he's he's actually breaking through, and the other one where he's that's sort of a visual symbolic of him breaking through. And then if this is all well, let's do it like this. If this is all sky back here, you've got these guys coming up on the horizon. They'll read a little bit better as well. But I think definitely I like something like this a little bit better. As far as rendering, oh well, I was gonna say design. I think design is solid. It's really cool what you're going for, and it definitely feels like metal, and it's just has some neat components to it. I think rendering, I like the way that you've done these gradients and the texture to it. I like these snowy snowflakes until they get really big and close to us, and then these are distracting, and they're almost too. Back here they feel delicate, and these feel like they're too. If you're going to see a snowflake that close, it's like right by your eyeball, and I know this isn't like realistic illustration, but these things draw too much attention to themselves. So
when are you allowed to do stuff like that?
I don't know, Will. When are you allowed?
Yeah, you can't just deflect the question.
I don't think I think if you're going to do something like this, then bring them up here as well. Let me just do this. If you had a few big ones up here as well, then it feels like at least it's like a layer of snowflakes coming close. Coming close to you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got for this one.
Okay. Lee, is it me or you?
You want to go next, and then if I could, I'd like to group mine together because they kind of go together as a crit.
Sure.
Okay.
I will go next.
So how about we do Will, Lee, Will, Jake.
Sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.
Great.
Right,
Do you need me to transfer that screen over to you?
I'm doing it right now. Let's see.
All right. Sounds good.
That one. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and whose is this? I had the name, and then everything got messed up earlier, and now that document is not open anymore.
The name on the piece is Old Man.
Yeah. And that speaks to it. One of the things we really want you to do is name your piece your name, because it makes it much easier. Is that Naders?
Yeah.
Okay, good. It's awesome. There's so many fun things.
Do you guys have naming conventions in your classes? Just wondering. Do you make people submit a certain naming convention?
What do you mean?
For the files?
Yeah, I have them name it their name.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the assignment usually, their name and then with the assignment.
You guys should pay attention to that when you're submitting stuff to clients and things like that. Watch out for naming things final or
project or they get so many, or illustration, or you got to make it specific.
And they're dealing with hundreds of illustrators, maybe thousands, depending on who they are. So you want to be real specific there. I always do last name _ first name, and then some little note about the project.
Yeah.
And that way it's easy to find.
Okay, great. All right, so I thought one of the reasons why I picked this one is because it's got some really good things going for it, some really good drawing, but I felt like the that there was enough problems that it would be really good to talk about. So I'm just going to jump right in. The first thing that I think is actually working really well is the characters. I absolutely love this baby. I think that baby is awesome, and I like the old man. And so I think character-wise, there's some really good drawing going on, some really fun stylizations. Um, so the second thing, I'm going to skip over characters and actually go to authenticity. And by that I mean what you've got is we right away we look at this piece and we see a doorway, we see an old man and a baby, and we get those things. And so functionally you're satisfying the assignment, but after function is form. And where I feel this one's kind of lacking a little bit is on the form. There's other things, and when you're making a piece of art that you want to be interesting to the eye, that you want to be pleasing, and I think that comes with adding in one of the things is adding details. So little things like trim for doorways, right? Can you see that? I don't
Hmm.
know what the delay is, but just adding a little bit of trim to the doorways can really signify and set it off a little bit more as to the environment and where we are. A little thing, just a little thing like an outlet might be, you've got that empty wall space there. So just maybe even just something simple like a little outlet there. And then you've got that background. Just putting a few little hints of things in the background to really, we don't want to take us back too far, and that's why I wouldn't go nuts with details back there. I'd keep it really simple, but just an indication of, since we're at a low angle, we can see underneath his crotch, which through his legs, which means the camera angle is really down more by the baby, which means we're going to see that ceiling, and that's why it would make sense to put a light fixture up there on the ceiling, a couch maybe in the background, just to show this is an apartment, or maybe it's a business. If it's a business, maybe some filing cabinets. But wherever it is, whatever that environment is, you've got to tell the rest of that story to your audience. Um, let's see, what else do I have in here? A dot. That's an empty layer. Um, and then the last thing is concept. And on this, I think I'm just going to switch to this a lighter version. And for me, I think this is the big thing, and that is I don't feel like the concept is working that well, simply because you've got a baby that's screaming and you've got an old man that's trying to figure out where it's coming from. And I feel like, and I don't, if you guys disagree with me, I would love to argue with you on this one because I'll win. But
Well,
I, I,
it could be that the baby screamed, he opened the door, then the baby's just like cooing, or he
yeah. But the
stopped
assignment,
screaming.
what does the assignment say? In sticking
Horrendous
with the
noise.
assignment, horrendous noise. We got to stick with that. So if there's a horrendous noise and it's coming from that baby, as soon as you open the door, you are going to know where it's coming from.
Yeah,
Now,
I
the
guess a
only,
simple turning his eyes down towards the baby would solve that problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
and another thing that you could do, that would definitely be one solution. There's many, um, but I would probably, show him really reacting to
Mm.
that awful sound, and probably have his eyes closed because it's so horrendous he can't take it anymore. You have to act out what's actually happening when you hear a horrendous noise. Right? And I know if you're watching on YouTube after the fact, you're not going to be able to see the webcams, but for the people that have joined us right now, I know you can see me acting this out. And when someone scratches across the chalkboard, what do? You can't take it, right? You cringe. So you have to act it out and figure out what would you do in that situation when there's a baby crying. Oh, I just want to make it go away. Because if you've been around a baby that's crying, especially not your own, it is really one of the worst sounds in the world. So you picked a great
Hmm.
concept for this one, going with the baby. Um, and then just a few little extra flavors. I'd have a couple of cats. Maybe this old guy's got some cats or something, and they can't take the sound either. You've got the space for it on the sides. So I'm thinking, add to that. These are horribly drawn cats. One of them's, trying to run down the hall, and one's just like, but you get the, you like those cats, Lee?
I like it. I see how you would draw in Pictionary. They're pretty good, by the way.
Yeah. So anyway, awesome concept to hit there with the baby. I think that's awesome. There's so many good things going on with this one, and thanks for submitting it. And I'm going to turn it to you, Lee.
Hey, one thing before you
Oh
switch it,
yeah.
I just wanted to say the people who are listening to this later aren't going to be able to see it, but for those of you guys who can see my camera, one thing in the drawing for animation class I noticed comes up in animation 1, like the first drawing for animation 1, the first class people take, is what I call fly swatter arms, where it's a 90-degree bend, and a lot of people just naturally, for some reason, do the fly swat, the 90-degree bend with both arms and also the knees and legs, lower leg and upper leg. So watch out for that fly swatter. Watch out for that 90-degree bend. It's a tough one to pull out in terms of a nice gesture. So maybe if instead of this one, either it's going to be farther out or it's going to be coming back, is a much better gesture than the straight 90 degrees. So just watch out, because it's an easy tendency, and I see it over and over.
I just want to clarify, when you're talking drawing for animation, you're talking about college classes, because we don't have that class at SPS yet,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, college class.
But you're going to do that one, right?
I can.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned a class. Somebody in the chat mentioned some class that you were going to do, so I don't know. I don't know if you saw that.
I got a bunch of them. I got a bunch of them planned. I'm swamped with books right now, though. I'm almost done. I finished one yesterday, so I'm almost done.
Okay.
The business class is what's coming up next.
Okay, good. Yeah, Mary.
Can't wait for that one.
All right, so switch back to you there, Lee.
Sure. All right. Can you see me?
Yeah.
You see my screen? Okay.
Not yet. And drum roll. You know what? I forgot to use the drum roll. I was given a drum roll.
Do we need a drum roll now?
Darn it.
I don't know if I'm going to let you down. Oh, no.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
We're still waiting. Waiting. I was supposed to use that for the winner, by the way.
That was good.
Are you sharing?
Can you see my...
Not yet. That's why I'm giving the drum roll.
Oh. Well, I'm ready to go. It's do you need to switch it or something?
Maybe you're not
I
a
don't know.
presenter. Maybe you're not. Maybe we didn't authorize you.
You did, because you were just showing my screen.
Yeah, you're an organizer. You have to take the control.
All right.
No, I just switched.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Jake was running the show.
Oh, Jake.
I thought you were clicking on it.
Nope. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the lecture that I want to do is it's more of a lecture than a crit, but it's going to be a crit as well. Is on a little bit about color balance and value control. I noticed a number of people submitting work either night shots or primarily in shadow, and different levels of success with that. I mean, it was like once I pulled them all over to a folder, it was like 14 people or something that had done night shots or dominant shadow, and it's a tricky one to pull off. And so I just kind of wanted to go over some thoughts around that. And like if you've ever seen a Glenn Vilppu video, if you guys want to learn how to draw, by the way, for animation, look up Glenn Vilppu. He's awesome. These are tools and not rules, so you can kind of use them as you see fit. Anyway, to get started with it, how most people light things, especially if it's going to be in the shadow or at night, is this left-hand color balance.
Mm-hmm.
They start with this blue right here. They're going to add some light to it, and they go. Let me get over here, and they go in this direction. They're basically adding white just to get to the lighter values that are within that shadow or that night scene. That works okay, but what you'll get is really, really chalky looking paintings. And I'll be
really quickly, can you spell his name? Glenn who?
Oh, Glenn, Vilppu, I believe. I thought there was 2 P's. There may be 1. Misty's saying there's 1. He'll come up with a Google search. He's great. Anyway, he always says tools, not rules, and that's what, and I like that because there'll always be a reason to just discount everything I'm saying right now. So I'm talking just in terms of general kind of ideas. Anyway, if you just add white to paint, for those of you guys who are painting traditionally, you know that if you just add white to paint, it gets really chalky, and the overall painting just becomes a little bit dull and muted and cool. And what I want to encourage, and which I'm going to show you guys now, is when you have a starting color, like I've got right here, is to use the color wheel to add light. So if I'm easy way to show it, here, let me go to my next little thing. Easy way to show it is these 2 cubes. This is a red cube, but if I add light to it, so this is my local color, the actual color of the object. If I add a little bit of light to it, it starts to turn pink, and as I add more light to it, it turns more pink. And as we all know, that doesn't really look like a red box. So here, start out with red. Let me go to black. Start out with red. When I go here to adding a light, I'm actually moving this direction on the color wheel. I'm moving towards the warm yellow.
Unmuted.
Everything as you move from local tone to adding light, you're going to typically add a little bit warmer hues as you go through this, and I'll show you some examples. As I'm up here, all I've done, this is almost orange, but because you have a saturated local color here, it's going to look like a red cube. If you compare them, you really start to see the difference. If I have a blue room and I want to light that, here is the first one, and this is just taking the local color here and then just adding white to it. And you see how dull that is. Turn on the light bulb. And here's the same idea, but moving through the color wheel. So I've got my local blue. Oops. Got my local blue. As I add a little bit of light to the wall here, it actually moves from blue into the aqua a little bit. Once you get into the lit areas, I added yellow, and then as you're in yellow, as it starts to fade out, you start to get the red. So hopefully that makes sense just in a general way of moving around the color wheel as you add light to an image. And it's a dramatic difference, as you can see from these 2 rooms, just in terms of the color balance. So I wanted to show you guys, after showing you that quick demo, some of the ways that the pros are using it, and I've shown some of these before in color keys, but you can see how much color. And then the second thing I want to talk about is value control. They're not going to super dark black, even though they're controlling the warms and the cools, but the actual value range is limited. When you have a darker scene or a shadow scene, you really need to keep those values limited, but watch out for overusing black. Let me make some of these a little bit bigger. These are beautiful images. You see how see how it's real cool green as it's back here in the leaves, and as it moves towards the light, especially as you're getting some translucency of the leaves, they're just adding yellow, so they're moving around the color wheel. And they do it over and over again, and like I said, there's always probably a reason not to do this, but if you look at how professionals are working, they're doing, I look for common denominators with how a lot of people work, and this is how a lot of people work. Successful people who are making more money than we are. I look to those people, and it's amazing. So before I put this away and go to the demo of the student work, I just want to say a couple things about starting your project. Color, composition, contrast, those are things that you can steal directly from these people. That is, a lot of people, students feel nervous, like, oh, I can't use this color balance because it's already been used. Man, I do this all day. I'll find an image that's awesome, and I just color pick straight from it. Color is not copyrightable. What do you guys think about that? Is I pushed it too far?
I color pick all the time.
It makes things so much easier. So if you find the right reference, you can just say, hey, I want to do a night shot. Google it. You're like, okay, this one has the tones that I'm looking for, and man, your work is half done. A lot of the images I see where it looks like people are struggling, they're trying to invent lighting out of their head in a complicated lighting situation. That's really tough to pull off. So use, stand on other people's shoulders. That's a better, more ethical way of putting
Yeah.
that. So I wanted to start with this one, just because it
Before you
was.
get going, Lee, I just might mention we've got a couple of classes at SVS where we go over all that. So if you feel like you need color help,
Especially Ty Carter's demo.
in painting, color, and
Man,
light.
yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
really cool. I like the comparison between those two red cubes, like that. That clicks.
yeah. It's easy to see for sure. For sure. But yeah, and then so get your reference, and also, as you guys are going into it, knowing that, oh my God, I've got a night scene and I don't know how to do that. Like Will was saying, go back and check the videos that we have and see which ones might be applicable for that, and scrub through them and see where the right spots are. So I picked this one just because there wasn't a lot of stuff out here. Looked like maybe, I don't know if it was stylized in terms of line work, but in my opinion it was feeling not that finished out here, and I thought it would be easy one to grab and just kind of walk through how I would build color up on an image like this. So I'll get started here. This one is Sasha Pavlova. And it's cool. I kind of like this line style. I don't know if it was totally what's intended, so it probably needs to be taken further just to let the audience know that it's not just an undersketch showing through. Okay, so the first thing I would do is just pick my color balance, and using kind of a grouping of that reference that I used before, that I just showed you guys, I just pick kind of a blue, but that leans a little bit green. And so the first idea that you want to have is, I just need each one of these things to separate. And what I always tell my students in class is, think about building from background to foreground, and thinking of it as cut paper. If one thing's dark, the next thing has to be light. And if the next thing's light, the next thing has to be dark. And basically, you just want each thing to separate. So I just picked a value, and I just start painting just to see how it'll work. So I'm just laying this in here just to get an overall tone. So going from that silhouette to bringing it forward to the trees. Now, even though I added light to the trees, notice that if I zoom out, see how the tree still stays dark? Can you guys see that? Is it too small there?
Oh yeah, no, we can see it.
So the deal is that that's how you test your values as you start to paint up. Even though I'm adding light, you can see in here there's a bunch of light in those trees. I scale back and I say, does the tree separate from the background?
Not much.
Not much, but enough, for it to be a background kind of a thing.
Right.
Adding a little bit of light, because the moon is probably hitting, this is a 45-degree surface, and so the moon is going to hit that and lighten it a little bit, and I'm still just kind of testing out some of these values. A lot of things I do in the beginning is just block out shapes just to look at it as an overall design, and then I'll start to block in a little bit more definite kind of shape. I gave it a little bit of yard there. If I go back, that's what it was before. I don't really know what that piece is right there. And then you can think of the moon casting some light down and creating these kind of hard shadows right there, which is really fun to do. And you can cast shadows at night, so don't think that just because it's a night shot that it has to be real fuzzy.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. All right, so now just laying in the porch, and again, I just want each thing to separate. So a lit side and a dark side, pretty easy, but I've gone monochromatic for the most part back here so far, just building up the lights. The light, I guess, in the night, kind of cool. Now I'm going to move to the warms, and I'm going to start with a deep kind of, I'm not going to go with this kind of brightness on the porch yet. I'm going to basically mix this yellow and the blue together to get kind of a muted tone for the porch right there, and emphasize, notice how nice his shadow, the blue against the warm, that's where you start to get a focal point, where you have warm-cool relationships and hard, soft edges. So now that this is how I kind of block an image in, and I haven't really started painting at all for real. I'm just kind of like laying in the shapes and seeing what the values are, and a lot of times they get adjusted later. This layer, then you can start to add your light, and notice how this light is real orange back here. So adding my highlight, watch this. A lot of times I see when people are going to add light, they add white. And again, white kind of will cool images down. So here for that highlight, you can go for a very saturated orange yellow And look how bright that is still next to that orange. So it's all kind of comparative. And so here I've added a little bit of blue to the character because he's come out and now he's in the shadow. This side is shadow on him. So he's going to have that cool tone. And I've also started to add a little bit of warmth to my light as I get away from the orange. So it goes from yellow highlights, yellow-orange here, now to kind of a reddish orange, and fading that out, muting it in terms of saturation too as I move outward. Next thing, I'm going to start to add yellow, and so no white at all. It's all just yellow and just accenting some of the stuff. And then I decided to change the concept because ultimately he comes out and sees an owl, and I didn't think that was threatening enough. And the last step would just be I just lightened up a little bit of it.
Have you ever come out of your house and seen an owl?
No.
I have.
No.
And it freaked me out one time. It was on my car.
They're huge, apparently.
Yeah.
I did an art show in Salem, Oregon, and they have signs that have people ducking out of the way of owls. And it's the most frightening sign you've ever seen. They look like they're big as like pterodactyl.
Yeah.
I've heard some nightmares, but do you think that the owl is enough for him to come out to? I feel like he's not exaggerated enough in this thing. So I just did something right at the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I can't imagine an owl making a horrendous noise.
And this guy looks so sweet.
No.
He looks like he'd be surprised by the noise too.
Okay, let me bust in here for just a second because I think this is important for everybody who submitted. When I went through all the images, the first pass when I went through, I asked myself, is this a horrendous noise? Does the concept work? Does this qualify? And I would say a good third to maybe even half, in my opinion, didn't qualify. Okay, so that's just when you're thinking of the concept and you're wondering what ones we're going to pick, or ultimately an editor, you've got to be really crystal clear on that concept. And sometimes you can't think of anything, so you just do with.
Yeah. I got to admit, when I added this little last concept, I had forgotten about the noise. I just threw something in there.
Right.
So I would need to redo this if I was going to add the noise. I just thought the owl didn't seem like enough for him to be shocked or anything, coming out like that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, this one was about color, so I wasn't really critiquing the concept too much. But if you notice, there's a lot of I guess it's just not that dark. If you look at my darkest value, it's probably right here. It's only about 85%. There's no black. And so it's a very limited contrast range, especially if you look past this line. All those values are within like 3 or 4 values of each other. So you can do an infinite amount of detail if you're somebody who likes to render, as long as you keep your values close together. Hopefully that makes sense. That makes sense, you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing I thought I would do is take this idea of a cool unlit area and then warming up the brights and go for Chris Knight's image, which I think this is so pretty. I think it's a great image by itself, and so I'm not saying that this is wrong. I think it's a great way to handle it. And so the color idea here is he's just using just standard local colors that aren't in the light. So a gray street, you got darker red bricks that are in the shadows. You got brighter reds, and there is some color balance going on here. You can see he's brightening up, adding yellow to the brighter leaves and cool to the leaves back here. So same idea. So there is some of that going on already, but here, in my opinion, it starts to get a little chalky. Here's where you've taken purple and you've added white to it, and so it starts to get a little bit chalky there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just grouped everything together in the shadow area with a cool. And I probably overdid it, but I'm just kind of looking at those Pixar color keys, and that Harley Jessup does that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So cool the whole shadow area with just a color layer. The next one, I just added a bunch of warms to the light, so basically just glazed over it with a yellow brush, and again, maybe a little too hot, but I just wanted to see what it would do. And then once I got my color idea down, then I could start to build within that. and play with basically adding saturation to the light area by going from violet into these warmer kind of tones and then adding a little bit of kind of almost an orange hue on top of it. So it goes from purple, a little bit of red, brighter violet, a little bit more yellow added to that, and instead of just going for the white. And then I thought it would be just at the end to see whether the light hitting him coming through this kind of shaft right here would be a better composition. What do you guys think? Any preference there?
I like him down in that corner.
Yeah.
I think up in the door he gets on that middle, like.
Yeah, this kind of straight line idea.
Well,
Yeah.
you need text at the bottom or something if you're going to have him up there because it empties it
I
out.
agree. I agree. I just like having him in the light, but
Yeah, and maybe there's a way to have him in the light down there. I don't.
yeah, just have the light coming across here. You know, it's a cast shadow coming through the buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a fun little exercise to play with the color balance like that. Again, there's not one that's his original one wasn't wrong. I don't know which one I prefer, but fun to play with that idea of moving around the color wheel as you guys add light and take away light.
Yep.
So
That's really good.
That's my overall pitch.
My thing on this one is I don't see any sound. I would love to see that character crying. You know,
Oh, I like that.
he's sad, and this kid has come out because of the sound. So we need the sound, and I think just his mouth open and crying. With how big he is, I don't think he has to be like, bawling, but I think just something. Yeah. Not a hugely, well, it's a sad cry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him this.
Yeah.
Remember that character from Labyrinth? You guys remember that character from Labyrinth?
I gotta rewatch the Labyrinth now that
It does. It looks like that guy from Labyrinth. Yeah.
What was his name? Ludo?
I don't know, but Labyrinth has been on everybody's mind.
Yeah, Ludo.
Last week, huh?
He'd be like,
yeah,
I just remember him going, Ludo sad.
Yeah. Matt says Ludo, and so does Becky and Dulcie. Oh, Matt said Bluto first.
He gets the Pop Culture Reference Award for the night.
Yeah. But I think you did a great job with the color, and it was really a striking image, especially like seeing this character sitting on the car. It's immediately interesting when you have that huge scale difference, which you really captured really well in this one.
Yeah, I love this piece.
Turn it off and on again, your layers.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Cool. Yeah. This looks like it could be a Pixar color board.
Yeah.
Just adding that extra little bit of.
I mean, it's definitely that Harley Jessup kind of color sensibility. So anyway, hopefully give you guys something to play with as you play with color. Most people are totally lost with color, myself included. I gotta fumble my way through images, and if I have any color idea, it makes the image go so much faster.
Yeah. I think Mr. Parker's up next.
No, it goes Will, and then I'm last.
Oh, am I going again?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me take it again. And okay, so this one, again, I don't have the name. I lost that sheet. Do you have this one?
Yeah. That one is.
I saw this one in the forums too.
No, I don't have the name.
Ah. We gotta get it. We've got to get the name.
Pam? No.
Are we getting help
Misty
in the
was
chat?
talking to Pam.
I don't have that folder, darn it. I got a bad start tonight. That's my excuse.
All right. Well,
If
You start critiquing it, and we'll get that name.
oh, it's No Wade Me, is what Dulcie's saying.
Oh, okay.
I hope that's right. Anyway, it's a great little image, and I thought it really captured. I thought it did a great job of capturing this narrative. And so let's just go through it. I came up with 4 different things that I want to talk about. I think the authenticity is great in general. And
Now, when you tell me again what you mean by authenticity.
you don't know what I mean by that, Jake?
I know what the word means.
So, okay, so sometimes you'll draw something out of your head,
Hmm.
and it's completely conjured, and, and
Hmm.
and people can't relate to it. So if you think back to the children's book class that we had with what's his name from BYU that submitted I can see it, the illustration where you had the park bench in there that was
Oh yeah,
blocky. Remember that?
yeah.
And so when you tend to conjure something or create something out of your head, but you're not basing it on a certain structure that we all have come to know. For instance, if we were doing a telephone booth here in the U.S., it would look quite different from a telephone booth in the U.K., right?
Hmm.
And any telephone booth just won't do if you're trying to bring someone into a certain story, a certain time, a certain place. If you're doing something futuristic, maybe you can come up with something that's completely conjured. But when
Hmm.
you're basing it in, if it's not specifically futuristic, it should have some basis in the real world, the world that we see, smell, touch, feel, all that on a
Yeah.
daily basis. So
Okay.
I think this one's great for authenticity simply because these feel like houses in a neighborhood. And I actually think that they could span um, different countries too. I think that you could see these houses in the U.S. and probably in Europe as well.
Yeah, I could see this as Sweden.
Yeah.
Maybe. I just didn't know if it was like, is this authentic to the person's like personality,
Oh.
or authentic to their,
Well, what would you call it? That's kind of what I call it. What would you call it?
maybe accuracy? Is
Accuracy?
that?
Is that better?
Yeah.
See, everybody in the chat's going to side with you because they think that you know what you're talking about.
Whatever. You're the pro.
All right. So anyway, the shingles, things like that. That's what I'm talking about. These little they're not shingles. Are those aren't called shakes. Those are on the roof. But those are what are those? Siding shingles or something?
Yeah, they're shingles, but they're on the sides.
Okay. Okay. So that this little bump out window, even though it's stylized and we probably wouldn't see one that quite that shape, it's still based in something. The bushes feel bushes like. The
Mhm.
path, you can tell exactly what kind of path it is and what it's made out of, the driveway, things like that. They're based in the real world. The door, the structure of the door. Now, when it breaks from that is, I would say the one place where it breaks from the authenticity is big, huge doggy door on the front door of the house. I don't think that's very typical, and I came up with a solution that I think might be better than that, and it would be something like uh, having the door open slightly and maybe grandma's over watching the other kids because these guys are coming home with the baby and that she's heard them pull up. And the story is really about the dog, but
Mhm.
but grandma has opened the door and that's how the dog got out, and that gets you away from having to put that big doggy door on the front. Because I think um, you had to have that there. Otherwise, the dog can't just, the dog doesn't have opposable thumbs, can't open the door, right? So the dog has to be able to get out. Um,
I think if you even just eliminated the doggy door, like dogs can go.
Yeah, they
They'll,
could hang out on the porch.
you
yeah,
don't
the
like
dog can
grandma?
just hang on the porch. He could even have a leash on.
Yeah. You don't like grandma, huh?
Grandma's fine too. She'd
I like
probably
Okay.
the
be
idea of
home.
grandma though because with the leash, it almost seems like the dog was already on the same, out there by the car and everything.
Yeah.
whereas the open door seems like he just came out
Just
and
came out. Yeah, I agree. Um, Another little thing, and this is just a little bit of a color thing, but I would take your sky color and put that on the windows, you know, and say that that's reflecting instead of that gray color.
It's a good
Um,
call.
yeah, really good call.
just a little thing like that. Um, Now, concept, we talked about it a little bit before. I think this is a great concept, by the way. I think it's intricate. It's something that people can relate to. Um, but I think, and you guys can disagree with this, but I think it takes a bit of deciphering, a little bit more than maybe it should have to. And what I might do with this is actually, um, I might have the two together instead of the guy in the background. I might have the husband helping the wife, who
Mm.
she looks so fit and just perfect coming out of the hospital after just having delivered this baby. And
We could have came from the adoption center.
all right. I'm nitpicking this one because this one is designed so well, and that was my fourth thing is basically to say you get a real good check mark on design. It is designed extremely well,
Yeah.
and the thing about a piece like this is it's deceptive because when things are working, you tend to look at the things that aren't working without
Mhm.
actually looking at the things that really are. This dog being dark on light is just so perfect, and the brighter colors, the more saturated colors, it really turns him into a focal point. Same with her. You got this nice muted background back here. It shows you that they're in a neighborhood, but it really hangs back, and that is so hard to do.
Yeah.
That's like a pro move right there. I mean,
Mhm.
I think it's awesome. My only real problem with this is I just feel like it takes a little bit of time spent on it to really get what's going on.
Yeah, I keep going back to Dad. I mean, like as I look at the image, I just keep for some reason ending up on that right-hand side. So I think you're right about that.
Yeah, I think I'd group them together, and maybe pull them back a little bit, so maybe they're in this space, the two of them, coming up the
Mhm.
walk, maybe
Mhm.
he's a little taller, um,
I
and
think you should definitely have the hair that you scribbled.
this hair right
The
here,
Yeah.
Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
that's enough out of you, Mr. Parker. Anyway, this is a gorgeous piece, and just I just had those few little
Yeah,
picky
it's nice.
changes.
It's hard to do facial expressions from the side for me anyway.
Yeah, that
The
was
mouth
another
is
one
so tricky.
I was gonna pick on that a little bit, but I thought, that's tough, and I would probably turn the head in three quarter. And what Lee's talking about there is on her head, instead of the side profile view, maybe have her looking down
Mhm.
at the kid,
The
like
That would be
three-quarter
nice.
view, the three-quarter view is so much easier, in my opinion. Do you
Right.
guys agree with that? It's just
I
easier to
agree.
do the facial expression on the three-quarter.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I would
I would do
that
that.
was my one big critique on this
The
one
thing
too, is just
that I
turn the
didn't
head.
hit, right? Yeah, I was thinking about doing it, but I just thought it was so nice. I didn't want to ruin anybody's day. But yeah, it
Hmm.
probably should have been said. Okay, great.
All
Um,
right.
nice job,
I'm up.
Brendan.
Very nice.
All right, so I'm doing Cheryl's comic page. Um, and you guys know I'm a sucker for comics too, so I wanted to definitely talk about this because I see some comics. Comics is a storytelling platform that really has some rules, has a way about it, and it's kind of a hard form to master. There's a lot of just trusting your gut, um, but there's things that you can learn and things that you can do. And one of these things is I'm just going to go through this. So here there's an explosion. This may be a symbol for a loud noise, or it might be an actual image of the explosion. These two characters are in some kind of building, and they're they're responding to that noise. The character runs, ends up on this balcony, and he sees this ghost dragon like coming across the city. The problems that I'm finding here um, is number one, what is this? Is it a symbol, or is it an actual like representational image of something that happens? Number two, these characters are staring right at the viewer, so they're breaking that fourth wall, and it's really confrontational, and it makes me a little standoffish. Like, am I supposed to follow these characters? Are they angry at me? What's going on? And then I get that this is the character running, but where is he running? Is he in a different dimension? And he's halfway off the panel too, which is a little offsetting as well. And then lastly, this image, it really is. I like how dynamic it is, but it's tilted so far to the one diagonal. It's almost again, it's another like unsettling angle. And then we have our last character who is reaching out of the comic page towards us. So there's just a few things that are unclear. Now, Cheryl, you're here with us tonight, right? Do you wanna talk? Can we unmute you?
Yeah, she said that was a shadow, so it's a shadow in the lower panel.
Okay. It's the shadow of the dragon. Oh, okay. See, that was unclear. So the dragon's shadow is being cast past the character onto the buildings, and the character's responding to the shadow.
Yeah, I think we're looking. I think we're looking up. I think we're the dragon's point of view, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So here's how I would do the page. I'm gonna kind of do the same thing, but a couple other things. One thing first is you want to have an establishing shot. Like, you want to show, here's where we are. This is the situation. So in the foreground, I have the treehouse building fort that they're in, and it's in the foreground. So we're establishing, okay, what is happening on the rest of this page is all happening in this frame. And then I have some sort of boom explosion happening over the city, and I have a picture of the city there too. So immediately in this first frame, we get treehouse in a city, maybe on the edge of the city, and then some sort of dramatic explosion or something happening. What is it? We don't know. Panel 2, we have our two characters responding. They're on the inside, and you can make the design of the interior mirror some elements of the outside. So you have branches in there, and you have wood, and you may have the same colors and stuff. So we really get that these characters are inside that treehouse. I have them looking off, not at us, but off. One character close, one character farther away. So they really get like, hey, there's something going on. You can even do something like, in comics you do this sort of thing, and that gets them like, that shows that they're startled, something like that. Okay, then if we go back to this, like, this is a lot of panel space for something kind of insignificant, just that this character is moving from one location to the other. So what I'm doing in this is making it smaller, but still giving it the dynamicness that it needs. So we're showing the whole character. There might be in silhouette. We've got speed lines behind them, but it definitely shows that this character is running somewhere. And you might want to do something like your character has. You want to do something with your character so that if you do silhouette them, it's still very apparent that that this is the same character. It's something iconic. So maybe with this character, he's got like a couple spikes in the front of his head, or a big shoulder pad or something, so that when you do silhouette it, you can tell that that's the character who's running. So now, big noise, characters respond, runs to somewhere to see what's going on, and then we have this last big panel where now this character is on this balcony in the tree. Maybe have some leaves up here, and we see the dragon coming at him, and maybe there's even like debris and stuff like falling at, and the character we're behind. Character might be silhouetted something, but they're in a pose like, oh shoot, gotta do this. And what this does is now we get to see what he's seeing as this dragon is attacking, and you get to draw the cool dragon and not have the shadow like cast, but you actually get to see this thing. So that's how I would approach this page.
You make it look way
Very
too
nice.
easy.
Yeah.
Becky says you're the what does she say? The comic sensei.
Yeah, the thing with
Sensei.
comics too, I mean, if you really, anytime I do comics, and I'm drawing a comic right now, I'm studying comics, I'm looking at comics. If I'm doing a fight scene, I pull out all my comics that have fight scenes, and I'm looking panel to panel, and really that's what you want to do, is go to the source, go to the source of really good comic material, and just study them and look at what they're doing. But there are some I guess comic tropes that you want to utilize, and that's the establishing shot for the environment, establishing shot for the characters. You can make it more interesting by close-ups followed by really far pulled outs, detailed versus silhouette, all those kinds of things. So, and I mean, I go in depth and in detail in the comics class at SVS. So if you want to learn more of this kind of stuff, that's all in the comics class. All right, that's it for
Awesome.
my critique. Should we announce the winner?
Yeah, we should. Before we do that, I would love to
Drum
know.
roll.
Huh?
Drum roll.
Oh, I'm gonna do it. But before we do that, I would love to know in the forums. I don't know where should they put it, but I kind of want to know how people feel like it went tonight. Like if you want to talk about it there, this new system, because
In terms of the
How,
format.
how about on the forum we have critique night, critique session. So, so they,
critique.
I was going to say the new rule is don't judge the judges.
and we'll critique your critique of our critique.
What does he say in what does the guy say in Nightmare Before Christmas? I'm only an elected official. Okay.
Matt says critiqueception.
Critiqueception.
Misty
Okay.
said, did we get to critique y'all? We say yes.
Are you ready,
We can.
Jake?
Yeah. Hold on, let me pull it up here. Which one is it?
I bet you were so happy with finding that little sound clip.
Well,
All right. Drum roll, please. The winner of tonight is Lydia.
all right. Woo.
So it was tough. It came down to just a handful. Ultimately, I decided on this one for various reasons. I thought the concept was great, nailed it. I love the visualization of these cracked notes. Like these notes are horrendous. I love the character designs. I love the perspective. I love how it's rendered. Again, it's not without fault. I mean, Will brought up a point that maybe this bird could stand out a little more. The gray kind of matches the gray in the trees and stuff. Maybe an all red bird might be cool. But I think overall it's a nice dynamic image, and it's definitely something that struck an emotional chord with me.
Yeah, it was great. For me, the rabbit is the best part of that. I love the
Yeah.
rabbit.
I was going to say this could
I can hear how bad it is.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if this is part of a series at all, but this could be a prompt for a great picture book where this rabbit is just going through the forest terrorizing other animals.
Yeah.
and you could show the reaction of each of the animals. Seriously, it would be a really simple kind of book, and it would be easy to pull that off in terms
Right.
of a dummy, and you already got a great character. So if you don't have other images planned for this, you might want to think about it and pitch it as maybe like a cardboard, hardback book.
And then maybe the
It's
end
called,
is, so he goes out and he's we're going to write this book right now. He goes
yeah.
out and he antagonizes all the other animals, and he comes home dejected, and his family's like, well, what were you doing? And so he plays for them, and they appreciate it. They love it.
Oh, I like it.
They're
And it's,
rabbits, and rabbits get it.
and it's called Bobo's Song, and yeah, I like that. My resolution was a little bit nastier. So I wanted to go the John Klassen, who stole my hat route, and at the end they destroy his ukulele.
Oh.
Did they give him a
Oh,
cowbell?
so he's wearing the ukulele around his neck on the way home.
And the last sentence is, you just totally break the narrative, and you just say, "Don't bug people."
I like it.
Catherine says more cowbell. Okay, on that note.
I'm sorry, but well, I could talk forever about Joe's books. We should call it quits because we're over time. But so Lydia, congratulations. Contact how do we do this?
Yeah, I'll
Contact Aaron.
To contact Aaron at svslearn. How do you spell learn? Info at
LURN.
And contact Aaron, and he will give you a free class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone right now is making a Gmail account. Lydia the artist at gmail.com. Yes, Aaron. I'd like my free. Anyways. Okay. Are we done?
You guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Internet high fives.
Until next time, check out our forums and get the just one more little plug for getting the next prompt and get going on it soon so that you can be part of this for next month.
Yeah, I want to see how SVS people envision love.
Yeah, there's no format, so horizontal, vertical, however you picture it, just make it good.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.